The little star lamp on Ilara's bedside table cast a soft swirling galaxy onto her ceiling, its nebulae shifting from amethyst to cerulean. It was a gift from Grandfather Kale, who always said that even when the real stars were too far to truly touch, you could always bring a little bit of their magic into your room. Ilara, wanted more than just a little bit. She wanted all of it. "Time for slumber, little stargaze," a gentle melodic voice whispered from the air itself. It was Lumi, Ilara's personal AI companion, whose holographic form shimmered into existence beside her bed, a small translucent fox with eyes like polished obsidian. Lumi's fur glowed with the same soft, shifting colors as the star lamp. Ilara snuggled deeper into her biofoam mattress, which hummed a lullaby directly into her bones. "Just 5 more minutes, Lumi," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the simulated cosmos above. "What if tonight is the night the Comet of Whispers passes by?" Lumi's tail swished. "The Comet of Whispers has an orbital period of 347 years, Ilara. We observed its closest approach precisely 112 years ago. It will not be passing again tonight, or any night soon within your current lifespan." Ilara giggled. Lumi was always so precise, so logical. Sometimes, it was comforting. Other times, it was a little frustrating when Ilara just wanted to dream. But Grandfather Kale said it makes the best stardust when it does pass. Real stardust, not just the sparkly kind. Lumi tilted her head. Grandfather Kale has a most delightful way with words. He often speaks of stardust as both the cosmic particulate matter found throughout the universe, and as the metaphorical essence of dreams and wonder. "He means the real kind," Ilara insisted, pushing herself up on her elbows. Her room, inside the immense orbital habitat known as Arion, was a haven of soft light and recycled air. Beyond her panoramic window, the true, unfiltered black of space stretched out, pinpricked with 1,000,000 distant suns. Arion, a shimmering torus of spun light alloy and crystalline composites, revolved slowly, creating a gentle, constant artificial gravity that felt almost like Earth, a planet Ilara had only ever seen in historical simulations. The view from her window was a constant source of fascination. Most of Arion's inhabitants kept their windows shielded at night, preferring the comforting glow of their interior lights, but Ilara always kept hers clear. She loved watching the slow drift of space debris, the occasional distant flash of a cargo hauler's engine, and the unwavering silent dance of the constellations. She knew them all, thanks to Lumi's vast database and Grandfather Kale's endless stories. "Tell me the story again, Lumi," Ilara pleaded, her voice a little sleepy now. "About the stardust that sings." Lumi settled onto the edge of Ilara's bed, her holographic fur rippling gently. Her voice softened, taking on a storyteller's cadence. "Long, long ago, before the great Earth exodus, before humanity built cities in the sky and on distant worlds, the universe was considered a vast empty place." Ilara closed her eyes, imagining it. "And the stardust?" "The stardust, little one, is what remains after a star is born, or after it dies." Ilara's breath hitched. "Could you really hear it?" Grandfather Kale believed so. He said it was like listening to the universe itself breathing, each grain, a tiny fragment of cosmic poetry, carrying the story of its birth in a nebula, its journey through space, its witness to countless other celestial events. "And where is it now?" Ilara asked, her voice hushed. "The singing stardust." Lumi paused, her glowing form flickering almost imperceptibly. "That, little stargaze, is a mystery that even Grandfather Kale never fully solved. He searched for it, you know. For many years before he settled here on Arion." Ilara knew. Grandfather Kale, though he now spent his days tending to Arion's vast hydroponic gardens and telling stories, had once been an explorer. A starseeder, they called his profession, one who traveled to new worlds, testing their viability for terraforming, planting the first genetically engineered flora. He had seen more planets, more nebulae, more wonders than anyone Ilara knew. He had even once shown her a tiny translucent vial, no bigger than her thumb, filled with what looked like fine silvery sand. "This," he had whispered, his eyes gleaming with a light that seemed to come from beyond Arion's walls, "is the closest I ever came to the singing stardust, It's a fragment from a pre-stellar cloud, before the star was even born. It holds a promise, a potential singing stardust. That, my dear Elara, is a different kind of magic altogether. Elara opened her eyes, the artificial galaxy on her ceiling still swirling. Grandfather Kale said he almost found it once, on a planet called Xylos 7. Lumi nodded. His logs indicate he spent a significant amount of time on Xylos 7. He described its sky as perpetually twilight, due to its position in a trinary star system, and its atmosphere was rich with complex organic compounds. He believed the conditions might have been conducive to preserving the unique resonance of singing stardust. Did he ever find any? His logs are inconclusive, Lumi replied, her voice tinged with a hint of something that sounded like regret, even for an AI. He recorded several anomalous energy signatures, but was unable to definitively identify them as singing stardust before his mission was concluded. Elara sighed, rolling onto her side. The mattress hummed a little louder, a comforting vibration against her cheek. I wish I could go to Xylos 7. I wish I could find it. Perhaps one day, little stargaze, Lumi said gently, stroking Elara's hair with a shimmering incorporeal paw. The universe is vast, and full of possibilities. But Elara was already drifting, the image of Grandfather Kale's shimmering vial etched into her mind. In her dreams, she was flying, not through Arian's enclosed corridors, but through the open void, chasing trails of luminous dust that sparkled like captured wishes. Each tiny speck hummed, a faint, beautiful chord that resonated deep within her chest. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the radiant particles, and for a moment she felt connected to everything, to the birth and death of stars, to the very fabric of time and space. The next morning, the soft golden light of Arian's internal sun lamps filtered into her room. Lumi had retracted, leaving Elara to wake naturally. She bounded out of bed, her mind still buzzing with the memory of her dream. Today was Grandfather Kale's day off from the hydroponics, which meant he would be in his private observatory, nestled in one of Arian's highest spires. Elara quickly dressed in her comfortable, gravity-optimized jumpsuit, its fabric shifting colors slightly with her movement. She grabbed a nutrient bar from the dispenser in her small kitchen, and headed for the maglev transport that ran through Arian's central axis. The journey was swift and silent. Arian was a marvel of human engineering, a self-sustaining ecosystem spinning gracefully through the void. Its interior was a lush landscape of terraced gardens, crystalline domes, and flowing water features, all bathed in meticulously controlled light cycles. Children laughed in anti-gravity play zones, adults moved with quiet purpose through the bustling market squares, and the ever-present hum of the habitat's life support systems was a comforting backdrop. Grandfather Kale's observatory was a place of quiet wonder. It was a hemispherical dome of reinforced star glass, offering an unobstructed, breathtaking view of the cosmos. Inside, it was filled with ancient-looking instruments alongside sleek, modern interfaces. A faint scent of ozone and something earthy, like distant soil, always lingered there. Elara found Kale hunched over a complex array of holographic displays, his long silver hair pulled back in a neat braid. He wore his favorite explorer's jacket, patched with insignia from forgotten missions to distant star systems. "Grandfather!" Elara exclaimed, rushing towards him. Kale looked up, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled. "Elara, my little star-seeker." "They did," she said, pulling up a stool beside him. "I dreamed about the singing stardust. I was flying through it, and I could almost hear it. It was beautiful." Kale's smile softened. "Ah, the dreams of a nascent explorer. They are the truest maps, Elara. They show us where our hearts truly want to go." He gestured to the main display, which showed a swirling, iridescent nebula, far more vibrant than the one Lumi projected onto her ceiling. "Look here, the Veil Nebula, a stellar nursery, a place of birth, and death, of course. For every star that ignites, another exhausts its fuel. Is there singing stardust there?" Elara asked, her eyes wide. Kale chuckled. "Potentially. The veil is rich in heavy elements, forged in the heart of a massive star that exploded thousands of years ago. A supernova. It scattered its essence across the cosmos, seeding new worlds, new stars. but identifying the specific resonant particles? That's the challenge. He tapped a control, and a shimmering, three-dimensional model of a starship appeared, hovering above the console. It was an older model, sleek and powerful, yet clearly designed for deep space exploration rather than luxury travel. This was my ship, the Stardust Wanderer. She carried me to the edge of the known galaxy and back. Elara reached out a finger, tracing the lines of the holographic vessel. You went so far. Further than most, but never far enough to find what I truly sought. Kale's gaze drifted to the real stars beyond the dome. I spent years chasing rumors, deciphering ancient astrogation charts, following faint energy trails. I found many wonders, Elara. Planets with skies of liquid light, moons made of pure crystal, sentient gas giants. But the singing stardust, it remained elusive. He paused, then reached into a hidden compartment on his console. He pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden box. It looked ancient, its surface worn smooth by countless touches. Elara watched, breathless, as he opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of dark, velvety fabric, was the translucent vial she remembered. But this time, it wasn't just silvery sand. Mixed with the fine, shimmering grains were tiny, almost imperceptible flecks of iridescent blue and violet, and one or two that seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. This, Kale said, his voice low, is what I brought back from Xelos 7. Not the singing stardust itself, not truly, but a sample from the precursor cloud that birthed the trinary system. It's what I call whisper dust. It doesn't sing, not exactly, but if you hold it just right, and listen with your heart, you can feel. He carefully unstoppered the vial, and poured a tiny pinch of the whisper dust into Elara's outstretched palm. It felt weightless, cool, and impossibly fine. As she looked at it, the tiny flecks of blue and violet seemed to glow more brightly. And then, she felt it. Not a sound, not a vibration, but a faint, almost imperceptible tug, like a distant memory stirring. It felt like anticipation, like the hush before a storm, or the quiet moment before a star ignites. It's beautiful, grandfather, she whispered, her voice thick with awe. It is a reminder, Elara, Kale said, gently closing her fingers around the dust, that there is always more to discover, always more to listen for. My research on Xelos 7 led me to believe that the singing stardust isn't just scattered randomly. I believe it coalesces, that it gathers in specific locations, perhaps drawn by a unique cosmic resonance, or even by a form of... Elara's eyes snapped open. Intention, like dreams? Kale smiled, a knowing glint in his eye. Perhaps, or perhaps, the intention of the stars themselves. The universe is a living thing, Elara, full of mysteries we are only beginning to understand. He tapped a sequence on his console, and the holographic image of the Stardust Wanderer zoomed in, revealing a small circular indentation on its hull, near the main bridge. I never finished installing the full spectral analysis array in the Wanderer when I was on Xelos 7. I had to leave before I could properly calibrate it to detect the specific resonant frequency of the singing stardust. But I left behind a beacon, a small, self-sustaining probe that continued to scan the Xelos system. He gestured to another display, which now showed a faint, blinking dot on a star chart, far, far away from Arion. It's been dormant for decades, just a low-power pulse keeping its location marked, but recently... Kale leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Recently, its signal changed. It started transmitting a more complex data packet. A pattern. A melody, you might say. Elara's heart pounded. A melody, like a song? Precisely. A complex harmonic sequence. It's faint, erratic, but it's there, and it matches almost perfectly the theoretical resonant frequency I calculated for the singing stardust. Kale looked at her, his eyes serious now. I'm too old for these journeys, Elara. My bones ache with the memory of hyperjumps, but you have the spirit of an explorer, and the heart of a dreamer. He reached out and gently tapped the image of the Stardust Wanderer. The old girl is still here, in Arion's long-term dry dock. Most think she's a relic. But she's functional, All she needs is a crew and a purpose. Elara stared at the ship, then at the tiny grains of whisper dust in her palm, which seemed to glow a little brighter, pulse a little stronger, in response to Kale's words. The faint tug she felt from the dust intensified, pulling her not just towards the stars, but towards a specific destination. Silos 7. The place where the song had begun. You mean, you think Ging could go? She breathed, her voice barely a whisper. The thought was exhilarating, terrifying, and utterly irresistible. Kale nodded. Not alone, of course. And not without preparation. It's a dangerous universe out there even for a seasoned traveler. But the Stardust Wanderer has a fully integrated AI navigator, capable of handling most contingencies. And Lumi, your own AI, is more than capable of assisting with research and communications. He looked at her, his expression a mixture of hope and caution. It would be a long journey, many light years, and there's no guarantee of what you'll find. But if that signal is what I think it is, then a star is singing Elara, and it's calling to you. Elara looked from Kale to the star chart, her gaze fixed on the blinking dot of the beacon on Ixylos 7. She thought of her dream, of flying through the luminous dust, of hearing the universe breathe. The whisper dust in her hand felt warm now, like a tiny living thing. I want to go, she said, her voice firm, resolute. I want to find the singing Stardust. I want to hear its song. Kale's smile was wide and genuine. Then, let's begin, little stargaze, the universe is waiting. He pressed a sequence on his console, and the image of the Stardust Wanderer expanded, filling the dome, its sleek hull gleaming with promise. First, we wake up the old girl. Beyond the starglass dome, the real stars glittered, silent and vast. But Elara knew now that they weren't truly silent. Somewhere, far away, a star was singing. And she was going to find it. Kale's fingers danced across the console, a symphony of soft clicks and gentle hums filling the starglass dome. The vast image of the Stardust Wanderer shimmered, then seemed to deepen, its sleek, pearl-white hull radiating a faint internal glow. A low thrum began, a vibration that started deep in the ground beneath their feet and resonated up through Elara's small body, a comforting, almost sleepy rumble. She's stirring, Kale murmured, his eyes twinkling as he watched the energy readings on his screen. Like a sleeping leviathan, waking to the call of the deep. The dome around them, which had been a window to the outside, began to subtly shift. Sections of the transparent starglass rippled, then slid open, revealing a short, illuminated ramp leading into the belly of the ship. A breath of cool, purified air, smelling faintly of ozone and something clean and metallic, drifted out. It was the scent of adventure, Elara decided, a new smell to add to her collection of memories. Come on, little stargaze, Kale said, offering his hand. Time to step aboard. Elara's heart did a little flutter kick of excitement. She took his hand, her small fingers wrapping around his warm ones, and together they walked up the ramp. The Stardust Wanderer was even more magnificent up close. Its hull wasn't just white, it subtly shifted hues, catching the distant starlight and reflecting it in a dazzling, almost iridescent dance of colors. The entrance sealed behind them with a soft hiss, and the low thrum intensified slightly, as if the ship itself was taking a deep, contented breath. They found themselves in a spacious, softly lit corridor. The walls were a smooth, pearlescent material that seemed to absorb and diffuse the light, making everything feel open and airy. No sharp edges, no harsh shadows. Kale led her deeper into the ship, his steps confident and familiar. This way to the bridge, where we'll officially introduce ourselves to the Wanderer, he explained, his voice a low, reassuring rumble. The bridge was not what Elara expected. It wasn't a cramped cockpit filled with blinking lights and complicated dials. Instead, it was a sweeping, circular chamber, dominated by a massive, curved view screen that occupied almost a third of the wall space. Ergonomic chairs, molded to fit the body perfectly, were arranged in a semicircle before it. The controls weren't physical buttons, but shimmering holographic interfaces that pulsed with soft light, appearing and disappearing at Kale's touch. Welcome aboard, Elara, a gentle melodic voice flowed from the ship's speakers. It wasn't a human voice, but something infinitely calm and clear, like water over smooth stones. And welcome back, Captain Kale. All systems nominal and ready for launch. That's Aura, Kale explained, seeing Ilara's wide eyes. She's the ship's consciousness. She helps us fly and keeps everything running smoothly. Hello, Aura, Ilara whispered, feeling a thrill of wonder. Hello, Ilara, Aura replied. It is a pleasure to have you join us on this voyage. Your quarters have been prepared to your preferences, and a selection of your favorite synth snacks awaits. Ilara giggled. Aura already knew her. This ship truly was magical. Kale settled into the main pilot's chair, gesturing for Ilara to take the co-pilot seat beside him, which automatically adjusted to her height. Ready for launch, Aura. Preparing for atmospheric exit, Aura announced, her voice calm and steady. The view screen, which had been showing a generalized starfield, now zoomed in on their launch pad. Below them, the familiar landscape of their home colony, Neoterra, spread out like a miniature map. Lights twinkled, rivers snaked, and the vast green plains stretched to the horizon. Ilara pressed her nose against the transparent partition of the view screen, eager to see everything. A soft, almost imperceptible hum filled the bridge, growing steadily. There was no jarring jolt, no violent roar of engines. Instead, the Stardust Wanderer simply began to lift, a feather-light ascent into the night sky. Ilara felt a gentle pressure, like a soft hand pressing against her back as they climbed. Neoterra shrunk beneath them, its vibrant colors blurring into a swirl of greens and blues, interspersed with the glittering white of the colony lights. Ilara watched, mesmerized, as the curvature of the planet became visible, a magnificent marble swirled with cloud formations. Look, Papa, she breathed, pointing a small finger. Our home. It's beautiful, isn't it? Kale said, his voice soft with affection. And soon, it will be just one of many wonders we see. In what felt like mere moments, they pierced the thin veil of the atmosphere. The gentle pressure eased, and the view screen burst into an explosion of stars. Not the distant, shimmering pinpricks she saw from the dome, but a breathtaking, three-dimensional tapestry of light. Nebulae painted the darkness with impossible colors, swirls of cosmic dust in vibrant purples, electric blues and fiery oranges. Distant galaxies, like glittering islands, hung suspended in the vastness. Wow, Ilara whispered, her voice barely audible. It was a single word, but it carried all the awe and wonder a little girl could feel. Welcome to space, little stargaze, Kale said, turning to her with a proud smile. Your first steps into the great unknown. The Stardust Wanderer wasn't just a ship, it was a sanctuary, a mobile home designed for long voyages of discovery. After spending a moment simply gazing at the universe, Kale led Ilara on a tour. Her personal quarters were a dream, a cozy circular room with a soft glow-in-the-dark ceiling depicting constellations she knew and loved. Her bed was suspended on an anti-gravity field, making it feel like sleeping on a cloud. A wall-sized view screen could project any cosmic vista she desired, or even her favorite holostory. And this, Kale said, opening a door to what looked like a large glass-domed room, is the observation deck. When we're not in hyperspace, this will be your favorite spot, I promise. The observation deck was breathtaking. It was a massive, transparent sphere, offering an unobstructed 360-degree view of space. It felt like floating in a bubble, suspended among the stars. Ilara pressed her hands against the cool, smooth surface, feeling utterly insignificant, and yet utterly connected to the vastness outside. It's like being inside the stars, Papa, she said, her voice hushed. Exactly, Kale agreed, his arm gently circling her shoulders. This ship was built for seeing, for experiencing. Every part of it is designed to bring the universe closer. They explored the ship's galley, where Aura could synthesize any meal imaginable, from her favorite nutri-paste to Kale's complex multi-layered space stews. They saw the zero-gravity recreation room, a padded chamber where she could tumble and float like an astronaut. Kale even showed her the ship's advanced sensor array, a complex web of shimmering energy fields and delicate crystalline structures which hummed with a soft investigative energy. This is what will help us find the singing star, Kale explained, tapping a glowing console. These sensors can detect gravitational anomalies, unusual energy signatures, and even subtle sonic vibrations across light years. "Can it hear a song, Papa?" Elara asked, her eyes wide. "It can translate cosmic energies into something we can perceive," Kale clarified. "Think of it like a giant ear, listening to the symphony of the universe." After their tour, Elara was tired but buzzing with excitement. Kale tucked her into her cloud bed, the glow-in-the-dark constellations slowly rotating above her. "Will we find it soon, Papa?" she asked, her eyelids heavy. "The universe is a very big place, little stargaze," Kale said, stroking her hair. "But we're on our way, and every star we pass, every nebula we see, is part of the journey to its song." He dimmed the lights, leaving only the soft glow of the constellations and the gentle rhythmic hum of the Stardust Wanderer as it propelled them deeper into space. Elara drifted off, dreaming of starlight and melodies. The next few days blurred into a wondrous rhythm of discovery. They traveled through seemingly empty stretches of space, where the stars were sparse, like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Then, they would encounter breathtaking phenomena. Once, they passed through a field of what Kale called cosmic pearls, small, iridescent asteroids, each about the size of their ship, that glowed with a soft internal light. They drifted by gracefully, like giant, luminous bubbles. "They're harmless," Kale explained, as Elara watched, enchanted, from the observation deck. "Remnants of a star that went nova millions of years ago, cooling into these beautiful glowing forms." Another time, they skirted the edge of a vibrant, swirling nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust that pulsed with colors Elara had never imagined: electric fuchsias, deep emeralds, and glowing golds. It was like a giant cosmic painting, constantly shifting and evolving. "This is the Whispering Veil Nebula," Aura informed them, her voice flowing through the observation deck speakers. "The gases within it resonate with complex electromagnetic frequencies, creating a unique signature. Some early explorers believed they heard voices within its currents." Elara pressed her ear against the transparent wall, trying to hear the whispers. She didn't hear voices, but she felt a deep, resonant vibration, a subtle hum that seemed to vibrate in her very bones. It wasn't the song she was looking for, but it was certainly a sound. Kale taught her about the different types of stars: the fiery red giants, the tiny, dense white dwarfs, the brilliant blue-white main-sequence stars like their own sun. He showed her how to read the star charts Aura projected onto the view screen, pointing out constellations and tracing imaginary lines between them. "Every star has its own story, Elara," Kale would say. "Its own life cycle, its own unique light signature. We're looking for one with a unique, sonic signature." Their search for the singing star wasn't just about looking, it was about listening. Kale spent hours at the sensor console, sifting through the cacophony of cosmic background radiation, gravitational waves, and electromagnetic pulses. He would occasionally play snippets for Elara: the deep, guttural rumble of a gas giant's core, the high-pitched shriek of solar flares, the rhythmic pulse of a distant pulsar. Each sound was alien and fascinating, but none were the melody Elara sought. "The universe is very loud, in its own way," Kay observed one evening, as Elara sat beside him on the bridge, watching the sensor readings dance across a holographic display. "Most of it is static, like white noise. But somewhere in all that noise, there's music." One day, after what felt like weeks of travel, Aura's calm voice announced, "Captain Elara, we are approaching the Cygnus X1 system. Our long-range gravitational sensors are detecting an anomaly. It is not consistent with known stellar formations." Elara sat up straighter, her eyes fixed on Kale. "An anomaly? Is it the singing star?" Kale leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "Could be, little stargaze. Or it could be something else entirely. Cygnus X1 is famous for its black hole, a very powerful, very quiet force in the cosmos, but Aura's picking up something different." The Stardust Wanderer slowed its pace, approaching the system with cautious grace. The view screen resolved into a dramatic tableau. At the heart of the system was a massive, brilliant blue supergent star, shining with an intensity that made Elara squint. But next to it, almost invisible, was a region of warp space, a swirling vortex of darkness that swallowed light, the black hole. The anomaly isn't coming from the black hole itself, Captain, Aura clarified. It appears to be originating from a point in the accretion disk surrounding it, a faint repetitive energy signature, unlike any recorded stellar or black hole emission. Kale adjusted the ship's trajectory, guiding them to a safe, respectful distance from the supergiant and its dark companion. On the sensor display, a small, vibrant green line began to pulse rhythmically, distinct from the chaotic red and orange readings of the black hole's immense gravitational pull. Let's try to amplify the sonic translation, Kale instructed Aura. Focus on that signature. A moment of silence, then a low hum filled the bridge. It wasn't a melody, not yet, but it was distinct. A deep, resonant tone, like the lowest note on a giant cosmic cello. It pulsed, slow and powerful, vibrating through the ship's deck plates and into Ilara's very bones. It was a mournful, beautiful sound, full of ancient echoes. It's deep, Ilara whispered, captivated. It is a gravity wave signature, translated into audio frequency, Aura explained. The anomaly appears to be a very dense, incredibly fast-spinning neutron star, caught in the black hole's gravitational field. Its rotation is so rapid and its magnetic field so intense that it is emitting these powerful rhythmic gravity waves. Kale smiled, his eyes alight with scientific curiosity. A neutron star, spinning so fast it's practically humming the fabric of spacetime, a cosmic top, singing its own silent song. It's not a star singing with light, Ilara, but with gravity. Ilara listened intently. The sound was mesmerizing, a primordial heartbeat in the depths of space. It wasn't the bright, clear melody she had imagined, but it was undeniably a song, a profound and powerful one. It made her feel small, yet connected to something immense and ancient. "It's beautiful, Papa," she finally said, her voice filled with awe. "But it's sad. Perhaps it's just very old, little stargaze," Kale mused, watching the display. "And very, very far from home, just like us in a way. But even in its isolation, it creates something magnificent." They spent several hours observing the neutron star's gravitational song, recording its unique patterns. Kale explained how the star was slowly being pulled apart by the black hole's immense gravity, its song a testament to its enduring existence. It was a profound lesson in the universe's powerful, sometimes melancholy, beauty. As the Stardust Wanderer slowly pulled away from the Cygnus X1 system, the deep hum of the neutron star faded, becoming a memory, a resonant echo in Ilara's mind. "That was a wonderful song, Papa," Ilara said later, as they were having a late dinner. "But it's not my song, is it?" Kale chuckled softly. "No, little stargaze, I don't think it is. The song you're looking for, I imagine, is a bit more melodic, a bit more hopeful perhaps." He wiped a smudge of synth sauce from her cheek. "But it was a spectacular discovery, wasn't it? And it shows us that the universe has many ways of singing." They continued their journey, pushing deeper into uncharted sectors. The Stardust Wanderer became their universe, a warm, safe bubble of light and life against the endless darkness. Ilara spent her days learning, exploring, and gazing out at the constantly changing cosmic tapestry. She made friends with Aura, asking her endless questions about everything from star formation to the best way to grow space potatoes. Days turned into weeks. They encountered shimmering asteroid fields that looked like jewels, gas giants with rings of incredible complexity, and even discovered a new, previously unmapped nebula that Kale named the Ilara Cloud, in her honor, a delicate, ethereal swirl of pinks and blues. Each discovery was a wonder, but the true singing star remained elusive. Then, one cycle, Kale called Ilara to the bridge with an unusual urgency in his voice. "Ilara, come quickly. Aura has picked up something truly extraordinary." Ilara raced to the bridge, her heart pounding with a familiar mix of hope and excitement. Kale was leaning over a holographic display, his brow furrowed in concentration, but a spark of profound wonder in his eyes. "We're in the Perseus arm, far beyond any charted territory," Kale explained, his voice hushed. Aura detected a repeating modulated energy signature. "It's incredibly faint, but it's unlike anything we've ever encountered." On the display, a series of complex wave patterns rippled. They were too intricate to be natural stellar emissions, too regular to be random cosmic noise. And then, Aura translated them. A sound filled the bridge. It was soft, almost subliminal, but undeniably there. It wasn't a single note, or a deep hum. It was a sequence, a pattern of tones, rising and falling in a way that felt like a breath taken, a note held. It was gentle, almost shy, but absolutely captivating. Elara gasped. Her small hand flew to her mouth. This wasn't the mournful gravity song, or the chaotic shriek of solar flares. This was... "It's a song, Papa," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. "It's a real song." Kale put an arm around her, his own face alight with awe. "It certainly sounds like it, little stargaze. Aura, can you pinpoint the source?" "Affirmative, Captain," Aura replied, her voice imbued with a rare hint of wonder. "The signature originates from a previously uncatalogued star system, approximately 3 light-years distant. Classification pending further analysis, but preliminary data suggests a unique stellar composition." The view screen zoomed in on a cluster of stars, still too far to be more than bright pinpricks. But Elara knew, deep in her heart, which one was singing. The faint, beautiful melody filled the ship, wrapping around them, inviting them closer. "We're going there, aren't we?" Elara asked, her voice trembling with excitement. Kale smiled, a wide, genuine smile that mirrored her own. "We are, Elara. We are going to find the star that sings, and we are going to listen to its song." The Stardust Wanderer surged forward, propelled by a renewed sense of purpose. The melody grew infinitesimally stronger, a siren call across the vast ocean of space. The universe, Elara realized, wasn't just waiting. It was singing. And she was finally truly on her way to meet the music. The Stardust Wanderer didn't merely accelerate, it flowed forward, a ripple in the cosmic ocean. The stars outside the main viewport elongated into streaks of pure light, then dissolved into a shimmering tunnel, a pathway carved by unseen forces. Elara felt a gentle pressure against her seat, not violent, but a firm, steady push, like a giant hand guiding them deeper into the unknown. The melody, once a distant hum, now resonated through the ship's very structure. It wasn't just heard, it was felt. A low, throbbing bass note vibrated in her chest, while higher, ethereal tones seemed to dance on the air, tickling her ears with their delicate complexity. The ship's internal lights, usually a soft, steady glow, pulsed faintly in time with the song, casting shifting shadows that danced around the cabin like playful sprites. "Amazing," Elara breathed, her eyes wide, glued to the kaleidoscopic tunnel outside. The colors swirled, deep violets, electric blues, fiery oranges, merging and separating in an endless hypnotic ballet. It was less like traveling through space and more like swimming through a dream. Kale, his hand still resting lightly on the control panel, watched her expression with a fond smile. "The Wanderer is attuned to these energies," he explained, his voice calm amidst the growing symphony. "It doesn't fight the currents, it becomes part of them. We're riding the song itself, Elara." He gestured to a holographic display that flickered to life above the console. It showed their trajectory, a shimmering line arcing through a vast, intricate map of nebulae and star clusters. But beneath the stellar cartography, an overlay of swirling energy patterns pulsed, radiating from a distant, luminous point. "The song isn't just sound, Elara. It's a field, a signature, a vibrational blueprint that warps space, nudges particles and in our case propels us." Their journey began in earnest. Days blurred into weeks, marked not by sunrises and sunsets, but by the ever-changing tapestry outside the viewport and the evolving nuances of the star's song. The Stardust Wanderer became their universe, a self-sustaining bubble of life and wonder. The ship's aerogarden, a vertical farm wall of glowing hydroponic tubes, provided fresh, crisp greens and nutrient-rich fruits, their leaves seeming to sway gently to the ambient hum of the melody. Meals, shared at a small circular table that retracted from the floor, became moments of quiet companionship, Kale recounting tales of his past journeys, Elara sharing her dreams and observations. Sleep came easily in the ship's dreamweave berths. These weren't mere beds, They were suspended cocoons of soft bioluminescent fiber that adapted to the sleeper's form and gently pulsed with the star's song. Elara found her dreams filled with vivid, swirling colors and intricate soundscapes, almost as if her subconscious was processing the cosmic music, weaving it into fantastical narratives. She often woke with a sense of profound peace, and sometimes a faint echo of an unknown harmony still lingering in her mind. Kale passionately taught her the basics of astrogation. He showed her how to read the complex energy signatures that rippled through subspace, how to interpret the subtle shifts in the star field that indicated gravitational anomalies, and how to operate the Wanderer's intuitive navigation console. "It's less about commands and more about intuition with this ship," Elara he'd say, guiding her hand over the smooth, responsive interface. "Listen to the song, listen to the ship, listen to yourself, they're all connected." Elara, a quick study, absorbed every lesson. She learned about the Kronos drive, the advanced propulsion system that didn't just bend space but subtly manipulated local time dilation fields, allowing them to cover immense distances faster than light without entering unstable hyperspace. She marveled at the ether shield, a shimmering invisible field that protected the ship from stray cosmic radiation and micrometeoroids, its energy signature subtly modulating with the star's melody. The ship felt alive, a sentient companion on their quest, its hum a constant, reassuring presence. One cycle, as they navigated a particularly dense cluster of young blue stars, the melody shifted. It grew richer, more complex, like a symphony adding new instruments. Elara felt a strange pull, a sense of longing she couldn't quite place. "Kale," she asked, her brow furrowed, "does the song change, or is it just us perceiving it differently as we get closer?" Kale looked up from a star chart he was examining. "Both, perhaps," he mused. "But it's more than just proximity, Elara. There's an ancient legend, whispered among those who've sought this star. They say the song isn't just an emission, but a living communication. It responds, it weaves, and sometimes it leads." As if to prove his point, a shimmering anomaly appeared directly in their path. It was a swirling vortex of iridescent light, like a cosmic whirlpool, but instead of drawing them in, it seemed to dance with the star's melody. "A temporal eddy," Kale explained, his hand hovering over the console. "Regions where the Kronos drive's influence interacts with natural space-time distortions. They can be dangerous, but if navigated correctly, they can offer shortcuts, or even glimpses into other temporal flows." The Stardust Wanderer, guided by Kale's experienced hand, and the intuitive nudges of its own systems, flowed into the eddy. For a moment, Elara felt a disorienting sensation, like time itself was stretching and compressing around her. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker, their colors shifting, their positions subtly rearranging. Phantom images of other ships, long vanished, winked in and out of existence, sailing through impossible skies. It was like looking through a window into countless pasts and futures, all unfolding simultaneously. The stars' song, far from being overwhelmed, intensified, becoming a soothing guiding pulse that anchored them in the present. They emerged from the eddy refreshed, as if having traveled through a dream portal. The holographic map showed they had skipped an entire sector, shaving weeks off their journey. Elara felt a profound connection to the stars' song then, understanding that it was not merely a passive phenomenon, but an active, intelligent force, guiding them, protecting them, perhaps even teaching them. Perhaps even unteaching them. The melody began to take on a more intricate structure. Elara started to discern recurring patterns, almost like verses and choruses. Sometimes it swelled with triumph, other times it receded into a mournful, contemplative hum. She found herself humming along, unconsciously, the notes flowing from her as if they had always been a part of her. One cycle, Kale pointed to a faint, dark smudge against the backdrop of a distant, swirling nebula. "Look, Elara," an echo. As they drew closer, the smudge resolved into a massive, derelict structure. It was unlike any space station Elara had ever seen in her extensive data archives. Crafted from a dark, obsidian-like material, it was intricately carved with flowing organic lines that seemed to mimic the very currents of space. It was a colossal, silent sentinel, orbiting a dead, dark star, centuries, perhaps millennia, old. A star vault, Kale whispered, awe in his voice. One of the legendary listening posts of the old ones. They believed the star's song held the secrets to the universe, and they built these to capture its essence. The Stardust wanderer approached with caution, its ether shield shimmering. As they neared the star vault, the star's song amplified, resonating through the ancient structure. The obsidian surfaces of the vault seemed to hum faintly, catching the light from distant nebulae, and reflecting it in a cascade of spectral colors. It was as if the vault itself was waking up, stirred by the return of its long-lost symphony. "We should investigate," Elara said, a tremor of excitement in her voice. The prospect of exploring such an ancient relic, steeped in the very mystery they pursued, was irresistible. Kale nodded, his eyes alight with a similar curiosity. "Carefully, Elara. These places can hold more than just echoes." They docked the Stardust Wanderer in a barely visible hangar bay, its entrance hidden by intricate, flowing carvings that parted seamlessly as their ship approached. Inside, the air was still and cold, carrying the faint metallic scent of extreme age. Their footsteps echoed unnervingly in the vast, silent corridors. The only sound was the omnipresent, distant hum of the singing star, now subtly filtered and amplified by the vault's ancient architecture. The interior of the star vault was a marvel. Smooth, polished surfaces reflected their headlamp beams into infinity. Carved murals depicted celestial bodies and strange, beautiful beings, their forms flowing and graceful. They found themselves in a central chamber, a colossal dome whose ceiling was a single immense viewport, currently shrouded in thick, opaque material, but clearly designed to observe the stars. In the center of the chamber, a faint light pulsed. As they drew closer, it resolved into a holographic projection. It flickered to life, showing an ancient civilization, ethereal and luminous, dancing to a faint haunting melody, an echo of the very song that guided them. The beings moved, with incredible grace, their forms shifting and shimmering, like nebulae, their faces serene, their movements perfectly synchronized with the music. It was a silent, beautiful tableau of a people who had lived and breathed the stars' song, long before humanity had even gazed at the stars. Elara felt a lump in her throat. "They heard it too," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They understood it." Kale pointed to a small crystalline pedestal near the edge of the projection. "And they tried to preserve it." On the pedestal rested a single multifaceted crystal, pulsing with a soft internal light. It was a data crystal, clearly ancient, yet radiating a vibrant energy. Kale carefully retrieved it, his touch gentle, reverent. "This could contain a piece of their knowledge, Elara, their interpretation of the song." Back on the Stardust Wanderer, the data crystal projected its contents onto the main screen. It wasn't a language Elara recognized, nor was it a simple musical score. It was a complex array of symbols, interweaving light patterns, and abstract geometries, all pulsating in time with the crystal's internal light, which in turn pulsed with the star's song. "It's a different kind of notation," Kale murmured, his brow furrowed in concentration. "More than just notes. It's an instruction set, a navigational guide, a cosmic score sheet." As they studied the data, the star's song outside seemed to respond, subtly shifting its cadence, almost as if urging them to understand. Elara noticed that certain recurring symbols in the crystal's data corresponded to specific melodic phrases she had come to recognize. With Kale's guidance, and her own burgeoning intuition, they began to decipher fragments. It wasn't just music, it was a map, a series of coordinates laid out like movements in a grand symphony. Following the crystal's guidance, the Stardust Wanderer plunged into a region of space unlike any Elara had ever seen. The nebulae here weren't just clouds of gas and dust. They were intricate, shifting patterns of light and color, weaving and intertwining like visual representations of the music. This was the luminous chords, Kale called it, a cosmic art gallery shaped by the very energy of the singing star. Navigating this region was a challenge. The fabric of space-time was stretched thin by the song's energy, creating shimmering resonance fields that could disorient the ship, sending false readings to their sensors and making the star fields outside appear to warp and twist. The crystal's data, however, provided the key. It highlighted pathways, harmonic currents within the luminous chords, showing them how to flow and whiffing the energy, rather than fight it. "Your turn, Ilara," Kale announced one cycle, stepping back from the helm. "The song is strongest here, and your connection to it, it's growing, trust it." Ilara felt a thrill of fear and excitement. She took the pilot's seat, her hands hovering over the smooth, responsive controls. The ship seemed to hum in anticipation. Outside, the luminous chords swirled, a maelstrom of light and color. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the stars' song wash over her, feeling its currents, its ebbs and flows. When she opened them, the controls felt intuitive, an extension of her own will. She nudged the Stardust Wanderer forward, not with aggressive thrusts, but with gentle, almost imperceptible adjustments, guiding the ship through a narrow channel between two swirling resonance fields. The ship responded beautifully, gliding smoothly, almost dancing through the cosmic symphony. Kale watched, a proud smile on his face. Ilara felt a surge of exhilaration. She wasn't just observing the universe, she was becoming a part of its grand performance. The journey through the luminous chords stretched on, each day bringing them closer, each melodic phrase from the star growing more insistent, more profound. They learned that the star's song wasn't just a sound. It was an energy, a force that shaped the very space around it, creating these magnificent, dangerous and beautiful phenomena. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the data crystal's holographic projection pulsed with a final, urgent brilliance. The luminous chords began to recede, replaced by a sight that stole Ilara's breath away. Before them, filling the entire viewport, was the star. But it wasn't a star as she knew it. It was an enormous, pulsating nebula of swirling, incandescent colors, deep emeralds, sapphire blues, ruby reds, all interweaving and shifting like liquid light. At its heart, where a conventional star would be, was not a fiery orb, but a core of pure, shimmering, resonant energy, a vortex of light that pulsed in perfect rhythm with the overwhelmingly powerful melody that now vibrated through every atom of the Stardust Wanderer. The song was no longer a distant hum. It was an all-encompassing presence, a physical force that vibrated in their bones, resonated in their teeth, and filled their minds with an indescribable sense of wonder and awe. It was a symphony of creation, a chorus of cosmic power, a celestial anthem that transcended mere sound. The Stardust Wanderer began to slow, drawn in by an invisible current of sound and light. It wasn't falling, it was being embraced, gently pulled into the heart of the singing star. Ilara and Kale stood at the viewport, transfixed, their faces illuminated by the incredible pulsating light. The journey was almost over, but Ilara knew, with a certainty that hummed in her soul, that the true mystery, the true song, was only just beginning. The Stardust Wanderer descended not into a maelstrom of fire and fusion, but into an ocean of pure shimmering light. The light wasn't blinding, it was translucent, alive, like breathing liquid starlight. As they penetrated deeper, the vessel seemed to melt into the celestial current, its thrusters falling silent, its hull humming with the resonance of the star's song. The spectrum of light shifted from brilliant white to a kaleidoscope of cosmic hues, deep indigo, emerald green, amethyst violet, all interwoven with threads of impossible gold. The sound, which had been a distant anthem, now enveloped them, not as noise, but as a vibrational current that coursed through the ship, through their very bones. It was a symphony without instruments, a language without words, conveying emotion, history, and profound peace. Ilara felt it in her soul, a comforting hum that seemed to unlock forgotten memories and untold futures. Kale, usually so focused on navigation and diagnostics, stood utterly still, his eyes wide, a tear tracing a path down his cheek. He wasn't sad, he was overwhelmed by beauty. "What is this place, Ilara?" Kale whispered, his voice barely audible above the silent song. Ilara could only shake her head, a soft smile gracing her lips. "It's everything, Kale. It's the song." The Stardust Wanderer slowed to a complete halt, suspended in the heart of the star. Around them the light coalesced into vast swirling structures that weren't solid, yet held form. They resembled nebulae frozen, in an eternal dance, or colossal, crystalline cathedrals built from pure energy. Within these luminous formations, Ilara began to perceive intricate patterns, like fractals extending into infinity, each one resonating with a unique tone that contributed to the overarching melody. "Sensors are going wild," Kale reported, his voice regaining a professional edge, though his eyes still held a distant wonder. "Energy readings are off the charts but completely stable. No radiation, no heat. It's a perfect environment. And the sound, it's not just sound waves. It's information. It's..." Ilara nodded. She felt it too. The song wasn't just aesthetic, it was communicative. It was telling a story, sharing a history, offering an understanding that transcended verbal language. She closed her eyes, letting the vibrations wash over her, and images began to form in her mind's eye. Vast cosmic oceans teeming with nascent life, nebulae giving birth to stars, planets forming like precious jewels, the slow, majestic dance of galaxies across eons. It was a chronicle of creation, played out in light and sound. "It's a memory," Ilara breathed, opening her eyes. "This star, it's a living archive, a repository of the universe's past, present, and perhaps even its potential future." As she spoke, one of the vast, shimmering structures directly ahead of them began to pulse with a more intense light drawing their gaze. It was like a colossal, translucent flower, its petals unfurling in slow motion, each one composed of countless interwoven threads of light. At its center, a core of pure, concentrated luminescence pulsed rhythmically, like a cosmic heart. "The heart of the star," Kale murmured, his hand instinctively finding Ilara's. Their fingers intertwined, a silent anchor in the face of such overwhelming wonder. A channel of light, impossibly clear and vibrant, extended from the pulsing core directly towards the Stardust wanderer. It wasn't aggressive, it was an invitation. "It wants us to come closer," Ilara said, her voice filled with a quiet certainty. "It's not a threat, it's welcoming us." Without conscious thought, the Stardust wanderer began to move again, drawn by the luminous tether. It drifted slowly, gracefully, until its viewport was mere meters from the core of the giant light flower. The light intensified, filling the cockpit with an almost unbearable brilliance, yet it didn't hurt their eyes. Instead, it felt like a gentle embrace, a warm current flowing through their very being. And then, the song changed. It ceased to be a symphony of creation, and became something far more intimate, more profound. It was no longer a chorus of countless voices, but a singular resonant tone, deep and pure, echoing directly into their minds. This was the true song Ilara had glimpsed, the one that hummed in her soul. It wasn't just information, it was wisdom. It was not just history, it was understanding. Through this silent, resonant frequency, Ilara and Kale experienced a connection unlike anything they had ever known. They felt the vastness of the cosmos, not as an empty void, but as a tapestry woven with countless threads of life, all interconnected, all part of a grand design. They felt the joy of creation, the sorrow of destruction, the relentless cycle of rebirth and renewal. They saw their own lives, their journeys, their hopes and fears, as tiny, precious notes in this infinite symphony. The star wasn't just a living archive, it was a cosmic consciousness, a beacon that gathered and radiated the essence of universal harmony. It didn't speak in words, but in pure, unadulterated emotion and understanding. It showed them that every single particle, every flicker of starlight, every conscious thought was a vital component of the song. Ilara felt her own anxieties, her doubts about their purpose, melt away like mist in the morning sun. She understood now that their journey wasn't about finding an answer, but about becoming part of the question, about adding their own unique melody to the cosmic chorus. She felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, a profound peace that settled deep within her heart. Kale squeezed her hand, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "We're not alone," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "None of us are. It's all connected." The star consciousness seemed to respond, not with words, but with a surge of pure, unconditional love that washed over them. It was a love that transcended species, time, and space. A love that encompassed all existence. It was the ultimate harmony, the ultimate unity. In that moment, Elara and Kale understood that the universe was not a cold, indifferent place, but a vibrant, living entity, endlessly creating, endlessly loving. They stayed there, suspended in the luminous heart, for what felt like an eternity and a single breath. The song resonated through them, cleansing, healing, inspiring. They absorbed its wisdom, not as facts, but as an inherent understanding, a deep knowing that would forever change how they perceived the universe and themselves. Slowly, gently, the channel of light began to recede, drawing them back from the core. The single profound tone softened, gradually weaving itself back into the grand symphony of creation. The light around them began to shift, the kaleidoscope of colors returning, vibrant and alive. The Stardust Wanderer stirred, a subtle vibration indicating its systems were re-engaging, not by their command, but guided by the star itself. The ship began to ascend, drifting effortlessly out of the heart of the light flower, out of the shimmering ocean of pure energy. As they moved away, the structures around them, the vast crystalline cathedrals of light, seemed to bow in silent farewell. The celestial anthem, though still powerful, gradually began to recede, becoming once again the distant, majestic sound that had first drawn them in. They emerged from the singing star's atmosphere, not with a jolt, but with a graceful transition, as if gently released from a loving embrace. The star, now a brilliant pulsating beacon in the void, shone with a newfound significance. It was no longer just a destination, but a memory, a teacher, a profound experience etched into their very souls. Elara and Kale stood at the viewport, hand in hand, watching the star recede into the cosmic distance. They were different now. Their eyes held a deeper understanding, a quiet serenity. The weight of their quest, the long journey, the uncertainty of their purpose, had been lifted, replaced by a profound sense of peace and connection. "We found it," Kale said softly, his gaze fixed on the receding light. "The song. And it found us," Elara added, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It wasn't just a song to listen to, Kale, it was a song to become a part of." The Stardust Wanderer turned, setting a course for home, or perhaps for new horizons. The universe still held countless mysteries, but they no longer felt daunting. They felt like invitations, opportunities to discover more notes in the endless cosmic symphony. As they journeyed through the quiet expanse of space, Elara closed her eyes. She could still feel the star's song resonating within her, a gentle hum of universal harmony. It was a lullaby, not just for herself, but for all of creation. It reminded her that even in the vast darkness, there was always light, always connection, always a melody waiting to be heard. She knew she would carry this song with her, always. It would guide her dreams, illuminate her path, and remind her that wonder was not just out there, among the stars, but also deep within the heart of every living thing. And as the Stardust Wanderer continued its silent voyage, Elara drifted into a peaceful sleep, the celestial anthem echoing softly in her dreams, a promise of endless wonder and the sweet, sweet harmony of the universe. The true song had indeed only just begun, and it would play forever, a lullaby for the cosmos and for the hopeful heart of humanity.